and welcome to the Behavior Education Connection, the podcast that works to connect the world of behavior analysis and the world of education. We focus on topics important to behavior analysts who work in the public schools and those who support them. Join us and spend time gaining insights and ideas as our host talks with fellow behavior analysts as well as other experts in the field.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the Behavior Education Connection. I am your host, Selena Layden. I am so excited to have back with me Lauren Vetere. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Selena. It's great to be back.
I appreciate you joining me again. We're doing kind of not really a part two, but kind of a part two to what we were talking about when we talked about building relationships. Today, we're going to talk about repairing relationships. But before we dive into that, in case people didn't hear the previous episode, can you just tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. Well, hello, everyone. Like Selena said, my name is Lauren Vetere. I am a Board Certified Behavior Analyst, and I currently work at Virginia Commonwealth University at the Autism Center for Excellence. And previously, I worked in a public school setting. I was a division-wide Autism and Behavior Specialist, and my job was to support teachers and students in special education programs in all of the schools from elementary to high. And I was also an elementary special education teacher. And even before that, I was a training coordinator in a private organization.
Well, again, thank you for joining me again. On our last episode, we talked about the importance of building strong, positive professional relationships. And that is critically important. And hopefully that all goes really well. And then you never need to hear what we're going to talk about today, which is unfortunately sometimes even the best well-built relationship can show cracks sometimes. And sometimes we have to spend a little time repairing those professional relationships. So today we're going to talk about that and we'll jump in. So Lauren, what happens when something goes really wrong? I mean, things can happen and people can have misunderstandings or disagreements. So how do you repair those professional relationships?
Well, Selena, as BCBAs in a school setting, we've all found ourselves in contentious meetings and high stakes situations. We've all been in meetings where our heart is pounding and we're trying to advocate for students the best we can, along with other team members. But perhaps there's varying opinions and there's differences in opinions or ways to move forward. And unfortunately, there are times where relationships are damaged and bridges have been burned. And I hear too much how sometimes BCBAs are not allowed in schools or classrooms or even meetings with parents or caregivers because that relationship has been damaged. So it's so important to rebuild and repair those relationships for our credibility and reputation, but also for the field and for the benefit of the students in the classroom as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, I think a lot of times, unfortunately, these issues boil down to a difference of opinion or a different understanding of what might be happening. And you're right. I think whenever possible, we really do need to spend the time repairing that relationship because otherwise we can't effectively serve our clients, who are usually the students or the teachers who are working with them. We can't support them. And it does hurt our field when those kinds of things happen because people walk away with a negative opinion about behavior analysts, even if it has nothing to do with our field. That's who we represent when we're in these positions. So what advice do you have? How do you go about fixing things?
I think first it's important to understand the why. Really take a deep dive and think about how that relationship was damaged. So we really want to find that cause, Why was the relationship strained? As BCBAs, we're really good with this kind of investigating the situation. It's definitely in our wheelhouse. Examine all of those angles. And once you understand that why, really create an action plan or address these issues so that it doesn't arise in the future. We don't want to, get stuck in this portion of understanding why, but we really want to reset the tone. And I think that's important, and keep an eye to the future. We want to keep moving forward. So it's important to affirm and validate others' opinions, really listen to their perspective, really listen to how they're feeling, and then we want to reframe and refocus. Now that we've all had our time to express our thoughts and concerns, now we're going to move forward. And we want to remind that other party that this is a coordinated effort. We are here for that common goal. And that is what's going to drive us, is that common goal. We're all in it together. We're all moving forward together. And when you have the students or the client's best interest in mind, that really helps that agenda move forward. And this is really rebuilding that trust, because trust is essential, especially in schools. You're working with really critical behaviors and lessons that are really going to set the students up for the future. So we really need to rebuild that trust.
I love that. And I would add, sometimes when we get into disagreements, it's because we may have competing contingencies. And the other party may not realize that that's what's going on. But a lot of times, we come in and our job is to support the team, to support that student, typically. Mm-hmm. The building administrator has 500 students they have to support, or 1,000 students, or 3,000 students. It depends on, how big the school is, plus all of the staff that work with them. And so they may have competing contingencies with what we're trying to accomplish. But you're right. When we say, at the end of the day, we both want the student to be successful. We both want this team to be successful. How can we get there so that they can be successful, but we can still make sure that your contingencies that are competing with this are not hindered or not overly hindered, that you can still do your job and I can still do my job. And sometimes if you can get down to those bare bones, I think that can resolve some things. I also think acknowledging the fact that I understand you have how many ever other people that you have to be concerned with right now.
Right.
So I'm going to ask kind of a hard question. Sometimes we do get into situations where we're not just going to be able to resolve it. The difference of opinion goes against our ethics code, goes against what we know is best or what is right for this person. And we just can't agree to disagree, so to speak. What do we do then?
I think it's important that sometimes,
and we hope it never gets there, right? We hope that's not
right.
But if it
sometimes we do have to walk away, and that's okay. And it's few and far between. I think many relationships can be repaired, but it's okay that there are certain non-negotiables that both parties have. And that's usually based on ethics, our ethical code, right. And really set those professional boundaries and remain within the ethics of being a BCBA, and know when that relationship pushes the boundary, and you can have that respectful professionalism to take yourself out of the situation, and that's okay too. You can leave that relationship in a respectful and appropriate way, especially when you feel that there is ethical dilemmas that have come to the surface.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think more than ever, when you're going to separate or part ways, it is so important to just try to be as absolutely professional as you possibly can. The other thing I would say, depending on how your structure is set up, this is a really important time for your supervisor to know what you do and what your limitations are so that you can depend on their support as much as possible as well.
And really establish those clear roles and responsibilities. And when I think about parting ways, unfortunately, when it gets to that point, I think about transparency as well. That transparency word always pops in my head here because you want to be clear about why you're parting ways. Right. And it's transparent for all parties. It is this reason that we are going our separate ways.
Right. Yep. I agree with you. Turning the corner a little bit, something a little more positive, I guess. One of the other things that you have brought up a lot, and I think is so critical, is just being a clear communicator. Mm-hmm. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this, but one of the things that I learned quickly is there are times that email is great, right? Like I can shoot off, I can be there at 10, or, hey, this date doesn't work for me, or can you send me this, whatever I need? The email's great for those things. But there are times where email is not the way to communicate. You need to pick up the phone. You need to go visit in person and say, I know there's a problem. Because I think email can be misconstrued, unfortunately, or misunderstood by people, even without malintent. Sometimes you just can't read tone in an email. And if you're already in a place where you have to repair your relationship, your email probably isn't coming across as positively as you would hope it would. Right. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but that's my other thought I had when you were talking.
And I love that point, Selena. It's such a great point too. And it makes me think of those nonverbal cues too. As a BCBA, you're looking at the environment, you're looking at everything to really see that understanding or agreement. And through email and even through the phone, you miss those opportunities of really identifying those nonverbal cues and seeing how the other person is feeling. So I think there's a time and place for both. But like you said, Selena, when you're repairing and rebuilding your relationship, as much as you can have that connection and be there safely and in person, I think the better.
So, Lauren, I appreciate you joining me today and talking about this topic. Hopefully nobody's in this situation, but unfortunately, I think sometimes things happen. So it is good to have a plan ahead of time. But do you have any final thoughts before we sign off today?
My final thoughts would think about that connection housekeeping is always the term I use. Connection housekeeping is we want to be aware of the drift. You don't want to fall into your old habits or into bad habits. Have those checks and balances in place where you're continually working on that relationship, where you're making sure that communication is clear, when that connection is transparent and you have predictable and consistent communication. So we never want a relationship to become stagnant. So you always have that housekeeping and checking in to make sure everyone is on the same page and those boundaries are still there and everyone's moving forward together.
I love that term, connection housekeeping. And I think it's easy things that we sometimes forget to do. If we are in a school for a meeting, stop by a couple of the classrooms and just say, hi, I was in the school and I just thought I would say hello. Wave to the administrator as you walk in and say good morning or whatever the case may be. Because one, it helps people remember you, for one thing, but it also helps them realize that you are around and you're not just kind of flying in and flying out. You are there and you are interested in what people are doing.
Absolutely.
So then if you have to end up repairing a relationship, you have more of a relationship to build on than, hey, we had a really bad meeting together.
Absolutely. And there's a little bit of finesse there, and there's an approachability because you are really putting the effort to build this relationship and not there just when needed, or like you said, Selena, when you're in and out as fast as you can.
Exactly. Lauren, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. As always, it was great to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Selena.
And I will hopefully see all of our listeners again on the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Behavior Education Connection. Join us next time for another great conversation about behavior analysis in the schools. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on an episode. Sending out a special thanks to the Virginia Department of Education for supporting our work. We look forward to connecting with you all again soon.